Right. So here we are. It is Tuesday evening. I'm in the Riverina, New South Wales, in Australia. And so, how's my day been today? Well, normally what I do on a Tuesday. So the paper is laid out on Wednesday and Thursday, right? So Wednesday, kind of from about midday, once I've got my ducks in a row, and then that carries on until Thursday morning. And then we try and get the paper off about midday. It can go as late as 3 p.m., but not later than that, really. Having said that, sometimes it can. Anyway, so I think I've definitely mentioned before, what they used to do before I came along is the office was closed on a Monday and Tuesday, and the editor wasn't there on a Friday, right? So what I decided to do, because it's a newspaper, is have it open all the time. So on Monday and Tuesday, I'm there by myself, which sometimes makes me think, what happens if a complete nutter comes in? Well, I guess that will be a story, and then I will put it in the paper. So that's the way I look at it. Anyway, today, because I'm a bit behind schedule, and the main reason is I had a dreadful night's sleep last night. I don't really know why. Woke up about 3 o'clock, couldn't get back to sleep again. And it was a real pain. I was in work by about 6 o'clock, and I've been trying to do a lot of work, but I'm absolutely exhausted. I really am. What time is it now? 8:45 in the evening here. Once I've done this, gonna have a shower, gonna have a sleep, and hopefully I'll get a good sleep. Anyway, so I'm a bit behind, and what I decided to do is close the door and just get on with my work. Didn't work, right? So when I first started here, nobody used to come into the office, right? I think they just didn't see the point of it because they'd never get stories up, right? But since I've been here, I've been encouraging people to come in, talk to me, and give me stories, which is great. And a lot of people come in. As you can tell, I like to talk. And so if you've got somebody else who likes to talk, an hour can go by and I don't get much work done. Anyway, I thought I'll lock the door today. So then I get a phone call about 10 after 10. One of the guys who I know here, he says, "Hey, are you in?" I'm like, yeah. I'll come and open the door for you. At the same time, I'll get a text message from somebody else, going, "Oh, do you happen to be in the office today?" I'm like, "Yeah, hang on, I am." Anyway, and then I got another phone call just as I'm walking to the door saying, "Hey, listen, I'm outside. I need to see about a story." I get there. Honestly, I'm not joking. There are 3 people waiting to come in. Ridiculous. Anyway, but it's good. It's kind of good, but it slowed me down a bit. I told them, I've closed the door because I need to get on with stuff. Anyway, they gave me a few stories and bits and pieces. One of them had to give me some names of people in the picture. So that was all good. But yeah, so I've been there and I've been trying to get work done. Didn't leave till about 6, I suppose, which, it's kind of late for me. And so I've been there, about 12 hours, for God's sake. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I've still got a load to do tomorrow. So I'm going to have an early night. Hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep. And then I'm going to get up super early again tomorrow, get in there and get it sorted out. Wednesday. So Wednesday, yeah, I'm in work all day. In the evening, 8:45 in the evening, I'm on the ABC Radio. That's Australian Broadcasting Corporation. If you're not from Australia, it's like the BBC, right? They've modelled themselves on the BBC. It's a very similar thing. You don't pay a license fee here, though, thank God. The government pays for the ABC. And there's also another one here called the SBS, which I've mentioned a bit before, Special Broadcast System. And funnily enough, when I first came to Australia in 97, right, I'd done a small amount of TV, but I'd done a fair bit of radio at that stage. And I love radio. As you can see, I've got a face for radio. There's no two ways about that. And I do love it. And I suppose it's kind of what I think I'm doing now. It's kind of like it's like a show. Okay. Obviously, it's a one-man show, which, yeah, hopefully it's not too boring. Anyway, let me tell you a funny thing. I'm just going to go off on a couple of tangents here. And now I've forgotten because I've got 2 tangents on my mind. Let me just tell you one thing first. Last night, I was talking about these idiots in Britain, Tory MPs and people connected with the Tories. And I kept saying they're voting that they're going to lose and all this. What I meant was betting. I don't know why I said that. It's why every journalist needs a sub-editor, quite frankly. And it's not even as I've been drinking. I'd had like one beer, for God's sake. But anyway, I meant betting. They're betting against themselves. Absolutely crazy. So that's one thing. And anyway, so yeah, the other thing I was going to say was I'll put a post on my Facebook page telling people what I'm doing with Real TART, right? Which is where you are now. Actually, you're not here because it's just me here, but which is okay. I'm not going to worry about it because I know how it works, right? I know how it works. It will take off sooner or later, hopefully before I'm dead. Yeah, because that wouldn't be a lot of use. But look, the thing with it is, so I put a post up on Facebook and I've got 114 friends on Facebook. Not a lot. It's not a lot, is it? But 114. I said, this is what I'm doing. Made it sound, I think, pretty good. I've had, since then, out of 114 people, I've had 2 new subscribers. They may not even be my so-called friends. Probably not, right? They're probably just random people. And yeah, it's always a bit depressing if you sit and you let it dwell with you too much. I had the same thing when I brought out my book Christ. I've told you before about this, but just to save you going back through all the videos. So when I got that out, I managed to sell 2. I sold one to my friend George, who was a character called Vinny in the book. And I don't think he ever read it. If he had read it, I'm sure he would have come around and punched me in the face. Similarly, ex-boss, who actually was really great, Peter, he gave me a lot of time off to do the book. I told him what I was doing. And he was a character in it as well called Trunk, right? And he's a big bloke, big boy, as they say. And yeah, and I had him in there, and there was a classic line in the book about the only thing bigger in the room than the desk was Trunk, and which I thought was quite nice. There were some good lines. If he'd have read that, he'd have been the same. He would have gone, what the are you doing? What are you doing writing about me? So he obviously didn't read it either. Anyway, I sold 2 copies. So much for your friends, right? So yeah, it's a bit depressing if you think about it. And I'm not going to dwell on it. I try not to get depressed about stuff now. Life's too short. No point, is there really? And it makes you miserable. It's corrosive as well. Don't do it. Anyway, so on ABC, I'm on there Wednesday evening. What do? I talk about regional news, particularly obviously from this area. So I pick a few stories. You have about 3 or 4 stories. I send them into them first, a bit of an email about that. And then we talk about them. And I'm on with Renee Crosh at the moment, which is good. And she's really great. I really like her. And it's kind of ad hoc. I just do it whenever they call me. Sometimes it can be every week. Most often it's every month or 2 months. It's just pretty random. Anyway, the interesting thing is about it. She said to me once, we were talking off air, as they say in the business, and she said to me, the other producers, some of the other producers, they saying to me, they say, where did you get him from? And I thought, oh dear. And she said, no, because it's really good, because you always put context in your stories. You've always got context. And I said to her, yeah, it's because I'm old, and she laughed. We have a laugh about it. I said, but it is true. I said, because I've seen things and I've done things, I can relate to them. I've always got a story I can link to it, but that's what they like, right? Many of the other journos who do these regional stories, because they travel around obviously and do them. Some of them they're so young and they don't know what they're talking about, and they're not even real smooth when they're chatting away. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but they're not real great, right? Because they don't have the experience. It's just how I would have been many, many years ago, decades ago, So there you go. Anyway, the other thing that popped up today, which is kind of linked to it, is University of Technology, Sydney, UTS. They sent me an email and said, would I go on what they call a regional news panel? And it's for their Centre for Media Transition. And I'm going to be on there with the ABC and also with the Guardian, so 3 of us. And what I'm going to talk about, apparently, is regional media and what the challenges are, all that sort of thing. And apparently they said, yeah, we decided we'd ask you because of your great experience in regional media. I was talking a bit about this the other night, about how I ended up here. Right? It's weird, like that guy was saying, well, you normally blokes of your age and experience be running a company by now. Look at me. running a newspaper with a small staff, it's small circulation, etc., etc. Why am I doing it? I don't know. Some of it's force of circumstance. It's just how things have how the dice has rolled, how the numbers have fallen, I suppose. But I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it, right? And the reason is I'm not at home being nagged by the wife. That's actually quite serious. It's nice. It's nice. Okay. I'm here, got a bit of freedom. I miss my dogs, as I've said before. But anyway, but the other thing about it is local journalism, right? To me, it's the purest form of journalism. It really is the purest form of journalism. You're doing everything, right? You're doing everything from your golden weddings, your 100th year, birthday. I've got one of those to write up tomorrow, actually. And you're also helping people with their problems, right? They come to you and they go, we've been trying to get this done by the council for, a year or 2 years. You do a story on it, right? I do a story on it. They'll sort it out the next day, right? They'll sort it out, which is great. That's the funny thing about it, right? About being a journalist. I'm not going to overplay this, but because I'm not, some kind of megalomaniac, but it gives you a power, right? If you get your paper or your online news service humming, right, it becomes powerful. It really does. People in councils, MPs, they start talking to you. They don't want you writing anything bad, right? You have a power. With great power comes great responsibility, as they say. And you have to use it wisely, obviously, right? Because if you don't, then, you're soon going to become known as just a bit of a wanker, really. So you've got to be careful with it. You've got to be careful how you do it. But that is one of the draws of any media job, I suppose. You do have this sort of power. So yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, I treat it well. I do the right thing. I do sports coverage, as you know, for example. I'm often doing that on the weekend, and I'm not interested in sport, but loads of people take part. It's great to see people playing this. I'll tell you a really great one, right? I'm going to bring this up at the on the ABC thing. So there's a rugby union team here, right? And I've mentioned them before. It's a West Wyalong rugby union team. They're nicknames because you always have a nickname. They're called the Weevils, right? I don't know why, no idea. Anyway, they won their game on the weekend. I was there for the first half. I had to go and do something for the second half, but I thought they're playing really well. And I've watched them a few times and I've thought they're not playing really well, right? So they're playing really well. Anyway, they won the game, right? That's a great thing. They won the game. It's against another team called Grenville, which is a town, I don't know, about 70, 80 kilometers away from here. Anyway, they beat them. Do you know what? That is the first game they have won in 3.5 years. How bizarre is that, right? Anyway, I'm talking to them tomorrow and getting some quotes and finding out how they feel about it. I'd imagine they feel pretty bloody happy. It was great. It was great seeing the first half, the way they were going at it. It was bloody brilliant. It really was good. So, yeah, so there we go. So that's one of the stories, and I'm probably going to put that on the front page. And I'm going to have to think of a good headline for it. I did have a good headline earlier on, actually. Now I've bloody forgotten it. I should have written it down. But it's going to be something like winners. Yeah, winners, we're winners or whatever. And, yeah, bloody hell, it's annoying. I've forgotten about that. There's a great scene. And it's not nothing. This is nothing to do in this instance with booze. I've just actually forgotten what I came up with. It will come back to me. But there's a great scene in Mad Men where one of the guys, a designer, I can't remember his name, a designer. He's an advertising executive. Anyway, he works all night and he's powered by booze, right? As he's doing it, he's drinking whatever he's drinking, bourbon or whatever. He comes up with some fantastic bloody concept, really, really fantastic. Makes a mistake, and just don't do this, right? Makes a mistake falling asleep before he's written the concept out. When he wakes up the following morning, he's forgotten it completely. It was the best thing ever, right? It would have made his name, So, yeah, I should have written it down earlier on. Anyway, in my case, it's nothing to do with bourbon or anything like that. I've just forgotten. But I'll come up with it anyway. I'll come up with a good headline. I'm not bad at headlines. Some journalists are really not good at them. Some are bloody brilliant. And I worked with this designer, Noel, back at the Barrier Truth. Oh, man, he was absolutely brilliant. He'd come up with such good headlines, There was this guy, classic example, right? This was like a Christmas issue, right? There was this guy and Thomas Mann, his name was, right? Mann, and he's an Australian, and he was at the Antarctic base, an expedition there or whatever it was. So we got some great photos of him in the snow, and all this. Now in Australia at Christmas time, of course, it's sunny. It's the opposite to the northern hemisphere. It's hot. It's our summer right here. And anyway, so we had this great cover, right, and it had a picture of him, and he was, all the snow was there and all that. And do you know what the headline that Noel picked? He came up with it was Snowman, Mann. Brilliant, simple, straight to the point, brilliant. That's exactly what you need, right? So I'm not bad with them, and sometimes I come up with some good ones, but yeah, some people are better at them than others, and they're not even necessarily always journalists. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going to try and get a good night's sleep tonight, and hopefully then I can just row into it tomorrow and get it knocked over, basically, which would be good. When I can't sleep, didn't work last night. When I can't sleep, what I tend to do, this is not yucky, not too much. I think about sex, right? I don't mean I have a wank or something. What I do is I think about situations in the past, primarily, right? Anyway, often what I think about is this girl I used to go out with, Sam. She was 11 years younger than me, right? I was in my 30s, so early 30s. I'm 32, 23, yeah. I was 34. I was 34 when I was going out with her. I've always been young at heart, though. And she was 23, right? Her mother was 45. Well, funny thing is, I don't know, there was just some unspoken thing between me and the mother. It never went anywhere, but it could well have done. Interesting thing. So one day, Sam actually said to me, she said, what is it with you and my mother? And I said, well, how do you mean? And I kind of knew what she meant because there was something there, right? And she said, well, we like Christmas, when she bought you that whole set of Port Merion stuff. This is many years ago, of course, and it was important then, things like that. Port Merion, I love that. Crockery, right? It's made in Britain, or used to be made in Britain. Much of it isn't now, sadly, of course. But she bought me a whole set, right? Super expensive. It's a Christmas present. And she's there with her husband at my house. They came over Christmas Day. And she gives me the present, and I unwrap it, and I go, oh, thank you. That's so great. And Sam was pretty much living in the place with me at that stage. So this was good, it's this other thing. And then she came up to me and she gave me a full kiss on the mouth, right? Like, yeah, almost a tongue, right? So it really I didn't know what to say. It quite shocked me. And it was after that, I think, that she said, what's going on with you and my mum? Oh, my God. So anyway, often I think about that, and it lulls me into sleep. It's better than counting sheep, isn't it? Let's be honest, right? Anyway, usually works. Didn't work last night, though. Maybe I need to change my women. Anyway, there you go. So, yeah, that's about it for the moment, because I've got to go and I've got to get some sleep. So we'll talk again, no doubt, tomorrow. And, yeah, we'll see what happened then. All right, you have a good evening, afternoon, night time, good morning if you're just getting up. And, yeah, listen, do subscribe. I know I laugh every time. Nobody's watching it. But look, it'll happen. It'll happen eventually, won't it? Joe Rogan, he'll be quoting me. He'll be going, that bloke Tony Bosworth, you want to listen to him some days, or he might even have me on his show. Wouldn't that be funny? Joe Rogan on his show. I'll be going, Joe, you're talking a load of bollocks, mate. You're always talking bollocks. And he go, hey, man, what do you mean? Then he get his bloke to check to see if he was talking bollocks, because there's a bloke there. That's what drives me particularly mad about Joe Rogan. His kind of take on politics and that is pretty bizarre to me anyway. But the thing is, he'll go like, yeah, mate, what are you saying? You're saying that men landed on the moon back in the past? And he'll go, Joe, check it up. Get online, man. Do some Google search. Honestly, and I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what, you don't even know that? You don't even know we landed on the moon, or you guys landed on the moon. But then, of course, he'd come up with some conspiracy theory. Never landed on the moon, and the Earth is flat. Everybody knows this, There was an interesting thing. Just reminded me. I'm sorry, I should have gone about 2 minutes ago. It just reminded me there was an ad out. It's online somewhere. I've seen it in various places, and it's about the Flat Earth Society, right? And it says they've got members all around the globe. The globe round, yep. is not flat. How bizarre is that? Anyway, there you go. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good stuff. Take care out there for people. Take care. Okie doke. We'll just finish this off now and